Michael, I know there's a term that you use to describe yourself often, and it involves the word curious. What is the
curious misfit.
Curious misfit.
Yeah, right.
I just asked you before if you were good, and you went sometimes.
I have it on my Apple Pencil actually. Yeah.
Do you? Okay.
Yeah.
Can you? So why do you use that term? What does that evoke for you? This idea of being a curious misfit.
Yeah, I think it's to do with misfit is to do with being mischievous and not fitting in,
Right.
deliberately trying not to fit in.
That sounds like you.
Yeah. It's more than just awkward.
Being annoying.
It's not awkward. Yeah. It's misfit, like intentionally trying to not fit in.
Right.
And when you do that, curiosity is important because, well, I think when you have a posture of that, you start to notice the things that you don't notice when you're trying to fit in.
Right.
The fitting in causes you to just zero in or look at what everyone else is looking at.
Got it.
If that's your goal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so being curious requires you to look at the new things. Does require you to not pay attention to what everyone else is paying attention to, or to at least look at what everyone else is looking at in a new way. All of those things are fundamental to that.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So is the term misfit around just being authentic? Like, do you feel that authenticity then requires you to have some comfort with that label?
I think so.
Yeah.
Perhaps. Yeah. It's a bit of a badge of honor, isn't it?
For some.
Yeah. Look, there's some culturally appropriate things here, not the band so much, but there's other groups that I know and some mates that have called themselves misfits that are creatives. I respect the way that they do it. I think they have adopted the word misfit for the same reasons.
Right.
And it's countercultural. It's wanting to find new things. It's wanting to chase purpose and cause rather than just
Yes.
money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When culture is saying do this,
Yeah.
I want to do something else.
Right.
Misfit.
So that's our link, right? So, this conversation is called cultural curiosity.
Yeah.
And so when you just said that, that misfit nature for me is that's countercultural.
Yeah, it is.
In that
Yeah.
sense. And therefore, actually, by definition, probably curiosity in some places is also countercultural. Not everywhere. Some places
sure.
have a culture of curiosity. And so how do we link that as cultural curiosity in particular? What are we digging at? What is a marker of someone who finds themselves being culturally curious? I guess is more of what I want to talk about today.
Well, I'm going to contrast the idea.
Go. Yeah.
And say that the opposite of a posture of curiosity is probably a posture of judgment, fear,
Yeah.
and being threatened by difference, as opposed to letting difference be something that makes you lean in and ask questions and like grow in your understanding. Or so I actually think that
Right.
becoming aware of what it looks like, what the opposite thing looks like, is really helpful then in going, okay, so the place and value of curiosity is immense, because living a life, speaking from experience, because I think we all have this in us,
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
like difference can be threatening. And if you don't choose to operate in a different kind of way and relate to it in a different way, your world gets small and
you retreat.
you retreat.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I love this word, and I love that this is something that we are on about, because curiosity takes the sting out of so many situations where people can find themselves feeling like fearful or inadequate or limited. Like, it takes a sting out of it, and rather than that, it's expansive, and it's possibility becomes something that then is larger and something that characterizes your experience of life, I think.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. There is a reduction at play and a limiting at play. and a containment at play that is the shadow side of curiosity, right? What's like, it's a bit like, they say that like darkness is the absence of light, right? Darkness isn't a
Yeah.
that's what it is by definition,
correct.
right?
Yeah.
So the absence of curiosity, I think that's a helpful way to think. The absence of curiosity leaves you with something maybe a state you don't want to be in. That is a place of those things, which is a darker, more contained, reduced place and space and mindset.
And I think oppositional.
Right.
So if curiosity is something that draws you closer to other people, because let's be honest, you are both different from me and you're different from each other.
Yes.
If
Yeah.
curiosity can bring you in,
Yeah.
Right.
whereas the opposite of it means that there's a different dynamic at play,
Yeah.
and you really do begin to feel protective and oppositional
Yeah.
in the world, which to me, as someone who is living in a culture that I didn't grow up in, I know what that dynamic feels like
Yeah.
personally, but also when from other people.
Right.
Yeah.
And there's just a power in curiosity that
Yeah.
is
Especially
immense.
from a cultural perspective, like what you're talking about, because that judgment of another culture or another person, you're actually making that before you've had the chance to get to know them. You just previous experience, previous knowledge, whatever it is, I don't know, previous fear,
Yeah.
but you're judging before you actually before you've got to know them. Or if you embrace curiosity, that means that you're putting down some of those previous judgments to go, okay, who is this person? What are they like? What can I find in this space?
Yeah.
Even if it's negative, I have to say, curiosity is very powerful when things aren't going well
Yeah.
and you've got problems and
Definitely.
everything is going a mess. If you can, in that space, be curious about why is this a mess? Why is this not working?
Yeah.
And that can lead to so many great things.
Yeah.
But as a posture, that's difficult to do at times because we become emotional, we become reactive, we want to say that it's not failing.
Yeah.
Defend
Run
ourselves,
away,
which
yeah.
is what you're saying. You
Yes.
want to
Yeah.
say, well, there's reasons why, and not wondering
Yeah.
that maybe things you don't know that you need to learn. That is a defensive
Definitely.
reaction for
Yeah.
sure, right?
Yeah.
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 And it's a bit of effort too, to be curious, I think. Like you've got to invest some time.
Yeah. And I think you also probably have to be present as you live.
Sure.
As opposed to autopilot. When something challenges the
totally.
way that you operate or the way that you think, it kind of snaps you into being exactly where you are.
Right.
And it's also an acknowledgement that we aren't silos. We don't live by ourselves. I love the word intersectionality as a, as an academic term. It's a word to highlight that we're not just interconnected, we rely on each other. And what happens in one community and with one group of people affects other people. Even if you don't know how they're connected, it still affects.
Sure.
But it can be the generation of fear and hate. It can be economic. It can be social. There's a whole list of ways. But if you can be curious about how another culture is and how they potentially intersect with what your culture is, huge benefits there. And if we're talking about cultural curiosity, that can help us to step into passion and cause and social change. It's really needed in that moment to be actually paying attention to what is in front of you, as you said.
Yeah.
Curious about what is there, not prejudge it. Don't assume that you know. Don't watch YouTube videos. Go and meet people and get to know them face to face.
Yeah.
That cultural curiosity now is really powerful.
So that is, because that's distance is what you're talking about there, right? That's assuming from a distance the things, and what you're talking about then about presence and proximity then becomes really important.
Yes.
I think the easiest way to understand this is if you ever have someone who comes to visit you to your home city and you walk through your home city with a visitor and they go, wow, what's that? And what's around there?
Yeah.
And what's up there? And does that always happen? Or is that when does that happen in the year? Or is this and the amount of times you go, I didn't know that was there. That kind of, you become so, and it's that term, I like to try and, when I go to new places, like live life like a local, but experience life like a tourist.
Yeah, sure.
Like this idea where, as a tourist, I think our eyes,
Yeah.
you do not go to a new place and look at the pavement in front of you. You do not do it. Imagine traveling across the world and only looking at here, like we do when we commute to work. Because that's, to be honest, if you're catching a train or a bus and you know where you're going and there's a comfort there, there's a regularity to it. I'm not very curious. I'm just literally want to get to my next thing. And if you live in that posture where literally every day is just getting to the next thing.
Yeah.
So I look here, but imagine flying all the way around the world, investing all of that time and energy and money and resource to be somewhere else and then not being curious about the place that you're in would be a travesty. I would state, is it not just as much a travesty to not look like that in your day-to-day life, in the things that you do,
At your
the things that you
communities.
lead, at the people around you?
Yeah.
No, we know so much about places and things that are distant from us that we've got no connection to. We know very little about the things that happen right around us, in our street, in our suburb, in our city. We know very little about the needs of the community around us, but we're infatuated with ideas that are so distant that we'll never actually interact with. We'll never. So even if I do somehow from a distance understand a need, I have no ability to affect change in that need.
Yeah.
So
Curiosity drives that exploration, though, doesn't it?
it does.
Yeah.
But I think if we find ourselves being curious about things, it's slightly more comfortable to do it from a distance
Absolutely.
about things that aren't going to demand something of us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that, I can learn lots of things about things somewhere else.
Yeah.
I can know a lot about politics in another country. I know very little about the politics of my own country.
Sure.
And that seems weird to me.
Yeah.
I could be infatuatedly curious about that.
Yeah, because it's distant.
And actually
That's objective
have
curiosity.
no idea
Yeah.
about the culture, the place, the space, the people
Yes.
that I actually have the ability to affect change in,
Yeah.
that I will bump into, that I will stand next to, that I will catch a bus or a train with, that I'll speak to, that I'll be able to sit with in the midst of grief or enjoy. I don't know any of these things. I'm not present.
Yeah.
I'm not culturally curious in my environment.
Yeah.
I'm just practicing that elsewhere.
Yeah.
That disconnect is really unhelpful, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Particularly when it comes to innovation.
Well, yeah,
How
sure.
can you be innovative without being curious?
Yeah.
I think that.
Well, how do you know the need? How do you even, if innovation or new ideas comes from stemming from trying to solve a need, how can you ever see the people and see the problem?
The origin point.
The
You're
origin point
blind
of
to it.
coming up with a new idea.
Yeah.
If you don't ever know that there's a thing, you'll never move forward. Like this is,
It is.
ideas are cheap, right?
Yeah.
Thinking through like cool things that could happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In
Ideas
isolation.
in isolation
Yeah.
and in distance.
Yeah.
I just whatever, but grounded in people, place, trust, relationships,
Yeah.
Yeah.
response. Now all of a sudden, but that demands of you something. So now we're
does.
back to you
Yeah.
saying your cause or the thing you care about out loud. Now we're back to well, that costs. That's
Yeah.
you have to be present
Yeah.
as a
Yeah.
person
Absolutely.
with other people.
Yeah.
I don't care what industry you're in, it involves people.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't care
Yep.
what you lead, you're leading people. Every single thing. That's the commonality of all of these
Yeah.
things.
If you're not leading people, what are you leading?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Brian Stevenson, the death row inmate's lawyer in America, wrote Just Mercy, I think it is. He has a phrase where he said, people are hard to hate up close,
Yeah.
so move in.
Yeah.
Be curious enough to go and be near them,
Yeah.
get in relationship with them. Too many people hate people they know nothing about. They're not curious about them.
Usually that
Correct.
is when it happens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They've
Out
just
of
made
out of
judgments.
ignorance.
Yeah, they've made
Often,
judgments
right.
and all this stuff. And he just says, look, just find a way to be close proximity to them, connect with them, have a relationship. People are really hard to hate up close. He's absolutely correct. We could all do with a lot more curiosity about our neighbor. Yeah, people hate their neighbor. They've never met them. Or all this
Yeah.
sort of stuff. Like, just start with
Yeah.
your next door neighbor, people in your street, whatever the community is that you're around that other people hate, just go and have a chat to them. They're probably not as dangerous as you think they are.
Yeah. And if they are, you'll find out. But
Not a great outcome.
but
Depends on what happens.
But things will reveal themselves by proximity, though.
Yeah.
Either way, right?
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of
Totally.
Let's talk about rather than people. A problem, you may go, that's not a problem.
Push into
and
it.
then you go close and you go, oh, it is a problem.
Yeah.
So like,
and then
or
maybe
it's not a problem.
the solution reveals itself because you're up close.
Correct. So either way, it will reveal. I think
if you're curious,
about it, you are aware, and then you bring and add proximity to that. Either way, the clarity of the reality of the situation will reveal itself. I think is the case. So
give yourself permission to be curious.
Yeah.
Yes, and there's something to, you talked about curiosity in negative or challenging moments.
Yeah.
There's something to even being curious about your own reactions to things. Like when you register within yourself, you're feeling threatened or inadequate or superior or fearful. Like, where is that coming from? What is that curiosity? There's a micro and a macro value. Both are huge and fundamental to what we're on about.
Yeah.
So it's personally
In leadership.
reflectively curious.
Yeah.
That's powerful to actually ask, where does that come from and what is that about?
Yeah, and in process, in prototyping, in innovating, when you hit a moment in your innovative process or that you feel some of those things, what's happening there, and what is an outcome that maybe you are worried about? What is, and then it turns that into possibility.
Yeah. That's powerful.
Yeah.
If you can do that, that's powerful.
I think it's transformative, actually.
Yeah.
Like relationally, in leadership, in creativity, in most things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cultural curiosity.
Yeah.
Curious misfits.
I like it.
I think it's...
Not to undo the whole segment, but I think having remembered it now, on my Apple Pencil, it's creative misfit, but we'll go with curious misfit.
Both apply to you. Yeah.
Well, both do, because...
It's same word. Potato, potato.
But here's the
potato,
thing, though.
tomato.
More
one
that.
of the causes you are very particular and definite about, and you have become more and more laser focused on, is that process of creativity. Like it's not big. It is you being specific, right?
Yeah,
so
for sure.
The specificity there for you again is connected to cause.
Yeah, correct.
Right?
Yeah.
And so and in that, I know you to be probably one of the most curious people I know.
Yeah.
And,
okay. And just
go.
To build on that.
Yeah.
It is so true. And because of that, I have seen the way that curiosity, like I was saying before, taking the sting out of, I mean, it's hard. I feel like it's hard to rattle you sometimes, even just in a work environment, because of that curiosity. Like it creates, even within a team.
Yeah.
Man, is that
pay attention.
Yeah.
Instead of getting defensive and instead of protecting you, the curiosity to step into it and go, okay, what does that mean?
And we
Super
build
powerful.
better.
Super powerful.
We build better because of that.
Yeah. Super powerful.
Yeah.
All right. Cultural curiosity. So much more to unpack.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yes.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.